Hello, welcome to Work Hard, Dream Harder. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Tia, and we're just two best friends waffling about life and trying to survive until we're 30. Oh yeah, we never introduce ourselves. I'm Tia. Do you think at this point they've all been trying to work out who's Sarah and who's Tia? Tell us in the comments, how long did it take for you to figure it out? Well, I'm Tia.
Oh, they're looking at social medias if they were that desperate.
I don't think anyone's that desperate to figure out our names.
Well, I'm Sarah.
I'm Tia. And together, we all work harder, dream harder. Yay!
We don't have a cool joint name, like a ship name.
Well, I've got Sia, which has already been taken. Or Terror.
Terror.
Tear up the town!
Right, like we said, back for another episode. Season 3.
So we're on the second season, and last month we spoke about, Sarah started waffling on about hustle culture. I said waffling on. You briefly mentioned it in one of our episodes, didn't you?
Just get me under the bus. Is that recording? Oh, yeah.
And we decided that it would be an interesting topic for us to talk about because hustle culture has... Hustle culture. This is where this has, like, other connotations that we don't know about. Anywho, hustle culture has become rather ingrained in, like...
The zeitgeist, the world.
Mm-hmm.
If you ain't hustling, you're a waste of space. You're lazy. This is like there's like Andrew Tate mother offers.
Oh God, don't mention.
They're like
don't mention that name.
They're 24 hours in the day. If you're not fucking what that Kim Kardashian is so like.
We all have the same 24 hours. Yeah. It's how you utilize those 24 hours.
Okay, yeah. Are you gonna pay for? I want a personal trainer, person who makes the food, looks after the house.
That's the thing. I feel like some of these like celebrities or people who endorse hustle culture is great. You know, if you can work, if you can make a living doing what you love, do it. But also
do it.
Like they take out of account sometimes. What if someone you got two people. One of them has, I don't know, 2 kids. They work an hour and a half away, public transport or car. It's an hour and a half away. They work like a, 10-hour day, and then it's an hour and a half back home. And they've got to, feed themselves, potentially partner, 2 kids. Maybe if they've got a dog, got to take the dog for a walk and got to clean the house and all of this stuff. Then you've got person number 2 who, works from home or works 5 minutes away, has no kids, no pets. Yes, they've both got 24 hours, but they cannot utilize those 24 hours in the same way. So shut up, essentially, for people who go, oh, you have the same 24 hours as me. Why do you not utilize them better?
I think sometimes an average Joe will use it as an excuse to the whole 24 hours, yeah? But you've got to be realistic. Like, this is the reason our story, came about, this podcast. It was we realised we're living on autopilot, that, our uni experience didn't go well because of COVID, right? And then we just kind of neglected that side and decided to be okay, we'll just survive. And then one day I was I'm 25 and I'm I haven't done what I said I was going to do. That's on me for not putting the plan in action. So that's why we utilised it. You got to work hard because dreams are dreams because you didn't put the actionable steps in, right? If you're not... Yeah. So we realised that hustle culture is a motivation to some extent, but not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody wants to be a social media person, yeah? It takes you a lot to learn, if you're going to put in all that effort and it doesn't feel like a burden, then and I think people misconstrue that hustle culture into toxicity more than anything because you'll make it work regardless. So I was watching. I think there was a Canadian Dragon's Den.
Oh.
Right, Simu Liu was on it, the guy who plays Shang-Chi. Right, that, and I saw a
He's
clip.
great.
I saw a clip. So some guy was saying, I have a job and I'm working this business, and these entrepreneurs were like, well, you're not taking that shit seriously. Well, you should go you gotta go full on your business. And he was saying, yeah, but I've got children, so just the fact that I've got a full-time job and I'm balancing this, to me is like, fucking yeah, you're dedicated. And Simu Liu had to put these like business people in place and be like, trying to say to him like, he's doing nothing wrong. He's trying to make this business work whilst making an income from his family. And then you realise a lot of these business people come from privilege.
Yeah.
Or like come from like, I don't know about those Dragon Den people from it, but... And I was just like, yeah, but this guy is not lazy. He's fucking got a full-time job, kids, and trying to make his own business, yeah? That's when I'm like, yeah, you go hustle, you deserve that. But it's like, trying to convince someone who doesn't give a shit about doing that, then it's like...
Well, some people genuinely don't care. And you know what? That is okay. Some people, they just want to earn enough to live... and live their lives comfortably. They don't really care about the job. They obviously want to feel comfortable in the job, but they don't strive for a dream job. They want to enjoy their lives outside of work, in which case they don't care about hustle culture. But that is perfectly acceptable, and people like that are frowned upon by the general public. And I am someone who believes in hustle culture to an extent, like, you know, work for it, you'll reap the rewards of it. But also, I fully respect someone who might not want to go down that route.
And I think now people realise that, I think on a previous episode we were talking about, like, this generation realised there's no such thing as stability, right? Because, you know, you hear like layoffs in tech companies, the big like Googles of them all. And if somebody's worked their entire life to be cushy live well, not in a bad way, but like live and work for a big tech company and then just live in their means, and then somebody can just pull that over you, and then you're like, that's why people go to the hustle culture, the business entrepreneur, because it's given that power to you. You've got to realise that, I think as well, coming from someone with a disability who's neurodivergent, who's dyslexic, that, yeah, I know I can do it, but there's stuff out of my control that I can't control. I always said to Tia, like, I'm a concept person, but I can't run a business. And so I don't think I can run a business, but I know I'm capable. But Richard Branson put in a way that the things he couldn't do, he delegated it to other people. But then again, I can't help the circumstances I was born in.
Definitely, 100%. Everyone's dealt a different hand in life. Some people, you know, you hear a lot of times that businesses are created out of like a parent's spare room or a parent's garage or a parent's shed or something. Some people don't have that luxury. Some people, you know,
also trying to survive.
Yeah, they're just trying to get by. I mean, I'm quite lucky. I landed up getting promotions young. I was very lucky with that. That I worked my way up the ladder quite quickly, but I don't have the luxury of living at home. So as much as I would love hustle culture, as much as I would love to just pursue my passion, I also have that realistic stance of I have bills to pay. So I'm in that like middle ground, and people have it a lot worse than I do, and I'm already here going, oh, woe is me, like I've dealt with such hard hand, and I'm not. Realistically, most people are in my position, and then a lot of people have it worse.
I always mention this book about the unfair advantage, and you need to read it, it's a good read. So basically the premise is that everybody has some sort of unfair advantage. So for example, if you compare a bloody celebrity's child or a tech CEO's child, right? You can say, yeah, well, their circumstances, you can say that they will utilize their parents' connections. Okay, that's true, right?
Yeah.
However, it's whether what they do with it, right? Because they could utilize and get nowhere or not even bother, right? So you can say, yeah, that's why their business is great, but it's all about what they do with it. So I realized that, Tia's got responsibilities, but I'm living at home with a part-time job, right? And I can pursue the creativity. So yeah, I might not be a billionaire or got industry connections, but I have that luxury of time. And I think some people just try to brush it off. Hustle culture, it depends what you take from it. For me, it's having the drive. And I think if I was changing hustle culture, it's like making your dreams possible with what you have. And I think you are what you make of it.
Yeah, 100%.
I think if you follow your passion, you'll be happy. Go back to a few seasons ago. But hustle culture is what you make of it. But I feel like it's when it gets toxic when people are just like, you can make £1,000 if you follow this, that. I'm like,
oh, I hate the...
It's the
glorification
of it.
I hate it because it's like these people are going, oh, you can earn £1,000 in a day if you do this or something. That is so unrealistic when you're first starting out. That is like years and years and years in the making for most people. And yes, you see these case studies of people making millions really quickly, but the reason why they are so newsworthy is because they are so rare.
They're like the outlier type of situation.
Most people, I think, is it something like the average business doesn't even break even for 5 years. So you're technically on a loss for 5 years. I am probably, don't quote me on that. I might have my facts slightly wrong.
We don't have a fact checker, so...
Take my word for it. Or Google it, I don't know. But from what I remember when I was learning about business, is it does take the average business 5 years to make a profit. And if that is true, you need to be in a position where you have some sort of other income, whether it's parents or a partner or another job. And hustle culture doesn't look the same for everyone.
You know what was cute is... going back to my favourite person on earth, Simon Squibb. So basically, a woman goes up to a woman. Basically, the story is a woman had a failed business before, and that really got to her. And then she goes to Simon and says, "I want to open a." She was Jamaican, and I think she wanted a vegan patties or something, right? And you know what got me? So Simon gave her money, and her husband, even knowing that she had a failed business before, matched that money. That kind of support is what you need. I think we got to understand that it's not easy, and that's why I say fail fast.
Yeah.
You learn more.
But also, don't kick yourself or beat yourself down if your passion or endeavour doesn't quite work out, because, again, 90% of businesses actually fail. Mm. Again, fact check that one.
And then I think if you're in it, your heart's in it, no matter what shit gets chucked at you, you'll find a way. And I think you've got to cut out the noise and do you want it? But I feel like everybody should start a business because it's just good to learn, but not everybody's made for it. And I think it takes a special type of person to do that shit.
Hustle culture is exhausting. When you're in business, if you work like a normal job, you're working 5 days a week, 8 hours a day on average. Maybe a little bit of overtime, but if you're working for yourself, if you're hustling, that can be 7 days a week, stupid hours. Be prepared for that.
And you got to understand, like, what you see on the internet is just a highlight reel.
It's a glamorization of it.
Yeah, like, nobody's gonna tell you when they fucked up real bad.
No.
If they want this.
But sometimes you do. Some people are brutally honest, and I love those people.
Oh yeah, talking about my Simon Scribb again, he did talk about his failures.
Yeah.
Like, he put all the money in the comic book thing and he said that failed. But, you know, and I think we see the final product.
Yeah.
We don't see, like, I watched Diary of a CEO, his podcast. He's got a YouTube channel where there's a Behind the Diary or something. I don't remember what it's called. But he was making a point, like, you see me at my peak, but you don't see the stress. You don't see when he was, like, stealing stuff just to survive. Like, you don't see the, not delusion somebody has to have to pursue greatness, but it's just that belief that you'll be capable one day. And he's like, you haven't seen him at his worst, right? All you see is the final product, like the Steve Jobs, but you don't know what they had to do before that. And I think, yeah, it is what it is, but it's the way that you frame it. It takes a certain mental capacity. I feel like hustle culture is good because for us, the way we think about it is like, oh yeah, we fucked off for a couple of years, forgot our dream, and now we're like, yeah, we're going to do this.
This is what we want to do, yeah.
But it took us, now we've got this delusion, and this, it's not a delusion, it's a passion.
Yeah. It depends how you look at it.
Yeah. But I think as well, you shouldn't compare one person's story to another, and if you want to do it, it's up to you. You know, it's like...
Oh, it's the whole thing of, do you know how people track, like, their babies? And, like, when they take their first steps, when they first start talking, when they first start walking, and people are like, oh, they were 8 months too late for doing that. They're really behind. 20 years later, everyone can talk, walk, everything the same. Yeah. So even though you may have started later in life, doesn't necessarily mean you won't catch up.
And I think that's what we've learned.
Yeah. And honestly, like, let us know, send us a message, put a comment down. What are your thoughts on hustle culture? Do you think it's glamorized? Do you think it's realistic?
And like we said, we wanted to start this podcast because we want to look back in 30 years and see what we were thinking is like an archive, because we can be like, oh, look at back when
we could have a different opinion. Yeah, we really could.
And I think as well, just do it. Right, that is what it is.
Right, we'll leave that for today. See you next episode.
Bing, bang. Right, cool. We're coming to the end of the episode. Thank you for listening. Like we say, work hard, but dream even harder.